Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today it's a trying to fix video, and I'm going to try to fix these 3 Nintendo Game Boy cartridges. Now, these were sent over to me by Mike from 1UP Gaming. He gave me a box load of faulty stuff. He's already tried to repair them, so it's not going to be something simple like dirty contacts, and he was unsuccessful. So he sends me stuff over, and then he likes to watch me try and fix something that he's previously tried to fix, and also it will probably make for a more interesting video if the faults are not simple, because if I just got a cotton bud with some IPA and rubbed it across the contacts and it works, it's not going to make for the most interesting video, even though in real life you probably do fix most cartridges just from giving them a clean, because they might have been oxidized over the years. But for the purpose of videos like this, it's more interesting if the faults are more serious. So as far as the Game Boy is concerned, I know nothing about it. I remember at college playing it with my friends. We used to play Tetris with a cable linking in between them with the original Game Boy, but I never had one. And then I never had a Game Boy Color, Advance, blah blah blah, because at that stage I was starting to get a bit older and I was at university and I had other things on my mind. So I have been putting this video off a little while because I thought, oh, you know, I don't really know if a Nintendo Game Boy will work on a Game Boy Color, etc. like that. But I spoke to Elliot from the Retro Future yesterday, and he basically gave me a lowdown on what does and doesn't work, what works in Color, what works in Game Boy Advance, etc. Sounds like pretty much everything works, and as well as that, they're not region locked either, which is good. But some of these are in, I think he said French or Spanish. We'll go through them, I'll show you each of the things. And apparently, if they're in Spanish, you can't, that's how it's been programmed. You can't then change it over to English by changing something on the board, I presume, unless you were to unsolder the mask ROM and then put a completely new one in from your area, or you know, program it yourself if you've got some like rewritable one or whatever it's called. So let me show you the faults, and I've tried each of these already, and yes, none of them are working. This one says it is working, but for me it's not working. And yet, just to show you, my Game Boy Color is actually working. I've got a Marvel game in here at the moment, so I just got this from the charity shop. You can see it does work, but I haven't actually used it yet. You can see it's missing the cover there, and it's also got some old football sticker there, probably from some Panini album somewhere. So this first one here says Pokemon Gold, Spanish language, contacts are no good, tried adding solder, no luck. Okay, so, and if I look in there, yes, the contacts do all look screwed up. So if you have a close look, can you see they're all damaged up here? So that's going to be interesting. Obviously, if solder's already been added, it means probably the actual contacts are completely gone. Maybe I could stick some tape on there or use some conductive paint, possibly, don't know. This one here, Pokemon Silver, won't boot up, shorts GBA, tried swapping ROM between them, plus every other chip, still no dice. So that's an interesting one. So what's causing it to cause a short if it's not the chips? So I'm really looking forward to that one. This one says Pokemon Blue, works fine but in French, don't aboard. So apparently if it's in French there's absolutely nothing I can do. But with me, I can't get this to work at all. So watch this now. Let's plug it in here. I'm just going to quickly show you each of them. You can see that that Nintendo at the bottom is garbaged, so it's not making any sense, and then it won't do anything after that. Now you can see there, that is definitely not working. So that's faulty. This one here does completely short the Game Boy itself. You see it won't even come on. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's causing that. I'm wondering whether it might be a capacitor that's been shorted to ground or something. That's going to be interesting. This one here is an annoying one, because when the contacts are gone, even if I add little gold, little copper tape and stuff, with all the pushing it in and out, I think the copper tape's going to end up getting chewed up. But if you have a look, can you see again? It doesn't say Nintendo down there, and I think that's the sign that there's something wrong with the game. But as well as that, it doesn't start, which is obviously troublesome. So let's just put the good one in again, just to see the Nintendo logo come up. There you go, see it says Nintendo, and then it will boot into the game. So I'm really looking forward to these. Now I'm not going to worry about the one with the faulty pins yet, because let me see, I think I'm going to start on this one to make it more interesting, and then you see if I need to get measurements, then maybe I can try to fix the contacts and use this for measurements compared to this one here. So let's get the little game bit driver that you need. This one's already apart, and you can see that it is covered in old flux and stuff like that. So I probably will be cleaning them with IPA just to begin with, to just to neaten them up a little bit, because I don't want to be working when they're all sticky. Right, I'm just going to use one of these game bit drivers. Annoyingly, it's quite large here, so I have to put it in my proper little screwdriver to take them out. While I've got this out, I might as well take all of them out. And this one here is already opened. Right, so let's open it up. And let's see what we've got. Right, first things first, I am just going to clean it with IPA because it is a little bit messy in here. Obviously this is going to be slightly harder than if you were doing it yourself at home, because this has already been looked into, and if it was a really, really easy fix, then Mike would have got it sorted. So what I'm going to do to begin with is the contacts do look perfectly clean. You can see there's splats of solder on them, but there's no oxidation on it. But I am just going to rub a eraser up and down it just to make sure. And now that I've cleaned it with IPA, I am just going to pop it back in, just on the off chance that it's made any difference. I'm absolutely sure it hasn't. It's only going to take me a second. It's still shorting out. So obviously there's something in here which is shorting to ground. I haven't looked up any of the power stuff to see where it's, you know, what pins the power's on. What I can see is, I can see a tiny sort of lump of solder just sort of sticking out here. So I'm just going to have a close look here through my eye loop and see what that looks like. Alright, so you can see it there. Let's just see if we can just kind of take it off. No, okay, so that's not actually shorting against anything. I was hoping that it might be shorting against the track underneath if it was kind of scraped back or something. Right, let's just have a very quick visual look. Never knew there's a crystal here, so these must have some sort of clock in them, you know, to keep time. Just looking for some bridges in between any pins. Okay, well, nothing's jumping out at me straight away. That does look very loose there, doesn't it? But it is on. That is actually on. Right, so what I'm going to do is I am just going to use my meter, and there's a couple of capacitors and stuff. There's a few up here as well that I'm just going to test to see if they're short into ground. I can always, good news is I can always compare it to this board here. That's interesting, there is no battery in this board. I wonder was that taken out, or whether the gold one doesn't have it or not. It's definitely got space for it here. But you can see that the board layout is it does look to be the same. So I will be able to get different measurements, because I'm hoping this isn't working because of the bad contacts on the pins. I'm hoping the chips themselves are okay. Right, so I've got my meter set to continuity, and all I'm going to do is find the grounds, which is here, GND, this pin here, and let's just go across the capacitors, see if they're shorted. There we go. Right, that's short into ground. That one's not. That one's not. That one's not. That's a resistor. Okay, so this capacitor here is definitely shorting to ground. So now, let me look closely. Is that shorting to ground because it's a faulty capacitor, or is it something else that's causing it to short? So I'm just going to have a very close look. So it looks like it's this pin here. And now I'm just going to go across on this one here to see if the same pin is shortened to ground. No, it's not. So there we go. So already we found our problem. And let's just check this one here. Yeah, so you see that's just shortened on top. So the top's to ground, so this pin here shouldn't be shortened to ground. Now, is it a faulty chip? Yes, it could be. I haven't got a clue whether these chips are completely interchangeable between here and here. Or is it, I mean, they do look to be the same, don't they? Have they got the same numbers on them? No, that's different down the bottom, but that's probably normal. Yeah, I don't know what that does. I believe that this one here is the thing that actually stores the game, like the mask ROM. So we're looking at this pin here. Why is this one shortened to ground? So it goes up to these two wires here, so these should also be shorting, which they are. And then they're going to go through the board and by this hole here. So let's have a look. So they go onto this one here. And where do they go? Around here to test point 1. Let me just double check on here that test point 1 isn't shorting. No, it's not. Right, okay. Just notice on this one that there's actually pins missing here at the back as well, but we'll worry about that later. Right, so I suppose what we have to do is we have to take off that capacitor and see if the pads are shorting. If the pads are shorting, it might well be a faulty chip. I mean, I can't see any problem with the chip. Hopefully, it might be just a capacitor. But then again, I don't know what capacitor that is, and I don't think that's probably going to be too small to get any reading from the equipment I've got. But you never know. I could always take it off this one and then see if I can get any measurements from it. So let's get the soldering iron out. I'm just going to put a little bit of flux on this capacitor, and I'm going to use hot air to take this one off here. Now I've got my station set to 350 degrees Celsius and the airflow's 3 out of 8. So I suppose we should zoom right in. Right, so let's just turn it around so my tweezers are easy to grab it. Now I'm going to try to keep the heat well away from this battery here. In fact, let me cover that up with... I'm just going to put the pliers on top of it there so the heat won't hit it. Right, let's go. So it's not going to take long to come off because this board is absolutely tiny. It's really thin, so it's not going to the heat's not going to be drawn away. There we go. Right, okay, now let's zoom out and now let's measure the pads. So again, continuity on ground here, and right, so that's bad. So that basically means, I'm pretty sure that this chip has gone faulty, unless it's something before the chip. So let's say if, I don't know, let's say if this pin was joined to this pin over here and the short was before then. Unfortunately, I am going to have to remove this chip to prove the fault more, I think. And I'm just going to go across the little capacitor. And it's stuck. It's because of all this sticky flux. No, there's not a short in there. So let's whack this one back on. And let's take off this massive chip. So we're going to add some flux to this big chip now. I really don't know if these chips here are specific to the game. So obviously this one would be. But I wonder, are these other ones? Don't even know what they are. Well, okay, let's try to get this one off now. And get that capacitor back on. Right, I think that capacitor's back on. So now let's move on to this big chip. I'm just sort of heating all the way around it. I don't know how easy this is going to be to come off. Right, it's starting to go shiny now, so I'm hoping it's going to come off. It's a hard one to grip. There we go, excellent. Right, that came off, I think, with no damage. So now what I can do is, do you know what, I'm going to get a fan for the fumes. What I can do now is check to see if the short is still there or not, and then we can find out what the ground pin is on the actual chip and see if it's shortened between this top pin and the ground pin. If it is, we know then, I think, that 100% the chip is faulty. I think. Right, so I've still got my meter on continuity, and now let's go between the ground pin and this top one here. Okay, so you can see there that it's no longer shortened, so it's absolutely fine going through here, through the wires and stuff, and coming out here. That's all fine. So unfortunately, I think this is going to be a problem with the chip. So let's try and work out which is the ground. So we've got the ground going round. It goes around. I presume this is all it here. Which one's going to be the ground pin? Well, I suppose we can just go across here and then just work our way down and see which shorts. There we go, the bottom one. Yeah, okay, so it's this bottom one here, yeah? So now if we go between, on the chip, between the bottom one here, let's just clean up my probes. Let's go between the bottom one and the top one and see if it's shorting. Yeah. Okay, so that's saying 28 ohms. So I think it's a problem with the actual chip itself. Let's go between here and here. Yeah. So now I wonder whether you can just swap these chips out. Should I take the one off here and see if it works or not? I suppose I don't really have much to lose, do I? Obviously some of you already will know this and you might be saying no, or you might be like, yep, makes no difference. I could type in that chip onto the internet and see what it actually says. You know, look up the data sheet. It's just that for me, because I'm a novice at all this, I find that sometimes I find it hard to understand what it's on about. Now I'm just going to go between here and here. Yeah, so there's absolutely, there's no reading there whatsoever. Let's take this one off here and see. I mean, we can always swap it back. For example, if you can buy these, then if I can get these fixed here, then it can always be swapped back. It's just that I think I'm going to struggle to get all these fixed. I might be able to do it. I'm not saying I'm going to give up. A bit confused what's happening out the back here. Don't know why they're kind of missing from the back. Is the back even needed? I suppose it's not, is it? The contacts are only on one side. Why, though, would they have all the... Why would they have even bothered with that on the back there? It's going through a wire. Is it because some games use the back pins? Let's have a look in the Game Boy. No, there's only pins one side on the Game Boy. So there's definitely only pins one side in here. You can see them up by my finger, but not on the other side. Not sure why they've done that. Is that not just a waste? So in theory, it doesn't matter what happens on this side. It's not going to make a difference. Let's get this chip off here. And let's see if we can get the Pokemon Silver working. Right, while everything's nice and warm, let's go and pop it on here. Right, I think that's on, but I'm not sure about the solder on it or not. But what I can do is I can go over with the soldering iron now and just see if I can get the joints a bit better. My soldering iron's set to 400 degrees and I'm just going to go across them because I can see that this pin here at the very bottom definitely doesn't look very good. So let me just put a little bit of solder on my iron. Just need to clean up my iron a little bit actually, hold on. Right, okay, let's just... I'm just going to cross each one. I think there's still plenty of flux on it from when I was heating it up. Yeah, I'm happy with that. To the other side. Just going to put some more solder. I'll put my fan on. The whole chip was placed on probably about, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter or something over this way, yeah, towards my tweezers here. So it should have been placed more over there. But it's okay, because I've added solder, you can see that these are all nice on there now. Now these are at the very end of their pads, but I was a bit worried about this ground one at the very bottom. But if you have a look at the side now, can you see, probably using wrong terminology, but it looks like the fillet, I think it's called, is going back onto the pad. So each of these have like a foot, like a right angle bit going down. So I actually think they are all connected. So now let's clean this up because it's got horrible sticky flux everywhere, and then we can test it. I'll test it with the multimeter to begin with. As well if it's common for this crystal to go, because when a cartridge gets dropped, or anything with a crystal gets dropped, it can break the crystal. So I wonder, does that just affect a certain part of the game, or would it stop it from working completely? So it says here that it's CR2025. Now if you're wondering what those numbers mean, it's really simple. The 20 stands for the width of it. So this will be 20 millimeters across, which is 2 centimeters. The next part, you see the 25, is the depth. So that will be 2.5 millimeters in depth. Yeah? So it's 20 millimeters across and 2.5 millimeters in depth. So that's what they mean. Right, I think that is cleaned up enough. So now, let's pop this in the game and see. Well, actually, let's first of all see if it's shorting. Right, so before, remember, it was shorting between here and the capacitor here, and it's not anymore. And now when I go between here and here, it is, yeah, we haven't got a short whatsoever. In fact, it's not reading anything. It's not reading any ohms. So let's go there. Let's see what it reads on that scale. I think it was 8.7 mega ohms. There you go. Okay. Now, just to say in the video again, when I say like kiloohms, I know I'm saying K-I-L-L-E-R. I know it's K-I-L-O. It's the English accent. I'm not saying it wrong. We say kilograms. Google it, you know, check it out on YouTube for pronunciation of how we say kilograms. So we don't say kilograms, we say kilograms. So it's not just me. Let's pop this in now and see what it does. So this was the silver one, wasn't it? In there. What do you reckon? Is it going to work? No. I was certain. Wow. I was certain that was going to do something. Okay. Ooh. Right, let's get the meter out again. So we definitely got rid of that short in the capacitor. I wonder, is that chip specific to the actual board? Right, this chip up here is testing different as well. Again, I don't know whether it's supposed to or not, but if I go on this board, remember this board is not working either, but I'm just hoping it's a contact issue. If I go between the ground and this one here, nothing, 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 shorts, and then it shorts here, nothing and nothing, so we've got 3 shorts. Ground here, we've got nothing, 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 shorts. Nothing, shorts. So that's different as well. Do you know what? Let's open up this French one because Mike did say that this one was actually working. And let's see what this one's testing. So let's go to the ground and let's go to this. Right, so that capacitor's not shorting. That is there, there. Now let's try this one here. Oh, this is in a different layout now. So this is different again. This is only shorting on one. I'm already getting out of my depth. Right, I'm going to do a little bit more testing, see if anything, see if I can find out anything. Right, okay, there is something else as well. So it looks like this chip here might be faulty. So if you have a look, if I go between the ground, can you see this big bit here is ground? So if I do the pin on that ground, and now if you have a look, see this capacitor here? Well, actually, let me just take the ground from here. This capacitor is also shorting top and bottom. So that's, I presume, not right. And that capacitor leads to the bottom right pin here. And if I go between that one and the ground on that pin there, can you hear it shorting? But if I go on this one here, then look, you can hear that that capacitor is not shorting, so then the ground's not shorting to that pin, and that is not shorting to that pin. So I've got a feeling that this chip here itself might be faulty. And again, if there's a problem with the ground, there's if the chip's failed on the inside, unfortunately there's nothing I can do about that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take off this chip here and see if that short goes away, because it's not happening on this board here. And also if we go on this board, this one hasn't got the capacitor, but let's just see if, mind you, it's a completely different chip, isn't it? So the grounds are going to be different. Yeah, I think the chip's different here. Let's worry about that blue one later on. Let's concentrate more on here. Right, let's take off this chip now and see if the capacitor stops shorting. Again, I could take off the capacitor, but I think it's going to be a chip. Let's have a quick look. Well, I suppose, do you know what? It's a lot easier to take off the capacitor than to take off the whole chip. So I'm near enough certain it's going to be the chip. I'm wondering how this happens, and I'm wondering, could it be if somebody put a voltage that was higher than 3 volts into the actual Game Boy? I thought that that would have fried the actual board itself, but maybe it goes through the cartridge and fries the cartridge. Not sure. If I'm lucky, it might have been the capacitor. Let's see. No, you can see both pads are shorting, so it's definitely not the capacitor. So let's pop that one back on and let's take off this big chip. The heat away from the battery. That came off lovely and easy, and I don't think I've caused any damage. Now, if you have a look here, that doesn't look too healthy. It looks like it might have bridged between them. So I'm just going to heat up the soldering iron. I'm just going to tap that. But before that, just to see while the soldering iron's heating up, let's see what's happening now. Oh, that's very good. It's shorting on both sides. Excellent. So it's still shorting. Yes, it is. Fantastic. So that means that maybe then my chip is not faulty. I'm wondering if it's this bit here, because remember, the chips have been swapped over and stuff, so maybe this big chip over here, I'm just guessing now, maybe this was the fault, but then when Mike heated everything up, maybe he just missed the fact that that had a tiny little bridge there. Or it could be something completely different. Let's just get rid of that. Right, that's gone now. Let's turn that extractor off, and now let's see if we got the short. I hope we haven't. No, we've still got the short. So that's shorting, and that's shorting. Right, so it looks like it's not the chip. And let's just double check. Do you know what? This chip's quite confusing, because look, we've got a hole here, and also a hole this side as well. And normally you put the hole where the arrow is here. So I was going by that, but now, because there's a hole both sides, I've got to make sure that I put this on the correct way. So I'm going to have to write that down. Otherwise, when I come to put that back on, it's going to go on wrong. So I'm going to go by the writing, because there's actual writing on here. It's very hard to see in this light. There you go. So I'm going to draw a quick diagram. All right, I've just drawn a little picture, so I now know how to put it back on. Right, let's zoom out and let's find out what is happening. So we've got to trace this further now. So why is this shorting to ground? We know it's not the capacitor. It goes through some wires here, and these wires go off. These 3 wires go off to here, this side, which is the VDD. And the VDD goes up to this one here. Right, okay, look. Let me zoom out a bit. So, we know that this pad here is shorting, and it shouldn't be, because if you have a look, we've got ground here, and can you see it's shorting on all these wires here, which is shorting on that capacitor there. Then, if we go through the 3 holes here, so the wires go through to the other side of the board, and you can see they line up here, these 3, yeah? Double check that, yeah, 3 in a line, opposite that one there, 3 in a line. This then goes all the way along here, and it goes up to this pin here. So if I was to go between here and here, you can hear it goes there, yeah? So now these go back through the board onto this side here. So now if we go between the ground and here, you can see it's shorting, which shouldn't be, because this is VDD. So we've got a short between the VDD, which I think is like the main voltage, and this one here. And if, for example, we were to go onto this board, you can see that, look, we've got no short between the VDD and that one. That then goes all the way up here, travels up here, it says U2, goes up here, and it goes to this pin here. And this pin, you can see, is short into ground. Sorry, I'm looking down, not looking up. So it goes all the way across here, along here, to this pin here. And you can now hear that it's shorting to ground. So I think that this chip has probably gone faulty, because if you look at this board here, again, it goes up, it goes across, it goes to this pin here, and this one is not shorting to ground. So now, let's remove this pin, this chip here, and let's see if the short disappears on the pad. If it doesn't, then I've got to look into that further. So let's get some flux on here. Do you know what? I'm loving this. I really do like doing the game cartridges, because the thing is, it's kind of easy to follow, they're quite big on the inside, and there's not a million different components. I'm really, really, really enjoying this. I hope the way when I actually do the video that it looks enjoyable in the video. Right, that's come off. And now let's go between the grounds here and this pin. Right, and you can see that it's now gone. So what we have to work out is which pin on here is the ground, which is going to be this one. So now there shouldn't be a short between here and here, because this is the ground here, and this one is the VDD. And there is a short. Is there a short? Hold on. Yeah, there is. Right, so those two pins are shorting, so this is faulty. Let me show you what this is. It says, let me zoom right in. Right, can you see it says, it's like an M symbol or an A. I think that must be an M. It says 038134A or 134A. So obviously it's some sort of, is it some sort of voltage regulator or something? I really don't know. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take it off this board here and then pop it onto here and see if it works. Again, I mean, this is labelled up differently, but surely, and is it going to make a difference? Let's have a look at this one. Oh, okay, well this one's the same. This says 134A. It's just that I didn't really want to mess around with this one. Should I take a risk and put this one in from here? Because this board's kind of junk at the moment anyway. I'm thinking they must be the same. I'm going to take the risk, because I'm thinking the voltage is going to be the same on all the Game Boy games. The sensible thing would be to take it off this one, because at least it's labelled up the same. But I kind of want to keep that blue one separate, because that might be repairable, while this one here with this board at the bottom is probably not going to be repairable. But what you could do is you could get a very cheap game. Like I've seen that in CEX, they have a golf game for £2, and I think these Pokemon ones are £15, but that's when they're selling to you. When you're selling to them, it's only about £3, so again, there's not a huge amount of value in them. But what you could do is, I could swap the chips from this Pokemon Gold into that golf game. And then it doesn't, you know, the golf game is going to have good contacts down here, rather than spending kind of days working on this if it's not repairable. Anyway, let's not think about that at the moment. Just going to quickly check with my meter whether the pins are shorting. No. In fact, this is small enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to heat it up first and just place it on when the solder's melted. There we go, that went nice and shiny. Now what do you think? I'd also like to know how this happened. How could 2 chips go from the board? You think the first chip would blow and then it wouldn't go further than that. Right, so continuity. Okay, the short has now gone between there and there. Yeah, it's looking good. Great. So now we have to try and put this chip back on here, the big chip. Gonna add some flux. Roughly in place. I can feel quite a bit of heat in the board, obviously, because I've been heating it up a lot. I can actually feel quite a bit of heat in that battery. Not enough for me to let go of it. But I suppose, you know what, looking back, I suppose the sensible thing to do would have been to unsolder that first. And then if I unsolder it, then there's no danger of that going in flames, is there? Right, let's try and do this chip now. Struggling here because my tweezers are not really big enough to be grabbing it top and bottom. And there's too much obstacles in the way, like the pliers and everything. Right, I'm going to do the rest with the soldering iron. Okay, I've had a close look there through the loop, and at the moment they do actually appear to be okay. Now I found that chip change very hard because the tweezers I was trying to sort of do top and bottom here rather than sideways and damaging the pins, and the problem is these tweezers, that's where they are naturally, so I'm having to do them extra wide like that, and then every time you moved it I couldn't get it off the board. Then I found that chip quite challenging, if I'm honest with you. Let me clean it all up because this is a mess at the moment, and then I can have a real close look and see what it looks like. I am happy with that. This side here is definitely a fraction of a millimetre up compared to this side. Let me zoom in to show you. Right, so that was the chip I changed over, and this one says 6735OB47, so I need to look that one up. And if you have a look here now, you can see that these pins are all soldered. This side looks quite nice. But this side, can you see, is up. It's just up a fraction of a millimetre, each of these bits here. But I've checked, and they are all definitely connected. And you can see if I sort of wiggle them with the tweezers, they're not moving. Obviously, I don't want to use a huge amount of strength because I'll just rip the pads off. I think that is on, and I've got it on the right way round as well. So now, what do you think? Yes or no? I'll be honest with you, I have got my hopes up, so I will be disappointed if this doesn't work. So let's pop it in. And pop it in here. With these, they sort of go on and then they just clip up. Here we go. Let's see. Come on now. Unbelievable. No, what on earth is happening here? I was sure that was going to work. Right, let's check again. Let's check again for shorts. What else can it be? There was no short that time. Short again. I've blown that again. I've blown that again. Why does that keep blowing? Is it because this, mind you, did I test that before? I don't think I tested that before. Could it be because this chip is not for this board? Oh no, I can't believe I've blown that. Now, I've sort of run out of options, haven't I? I don't want to put another one on there because there's something else causing it. Could it be this chip here which is causing it? Is there something on this chip which is blowing it? Mind you, that is the first point, isn't it? It goes up here and it goes into here. What? Yeah, that's gone again. So it looks like I need to source some of these from somewhere. I can't risk putting the blue one on there because I'm pretty sure, although it's a different component marked up, I'm pretty sure it does the same job. So I wonder, is there something on here? Mind you, that is the first one. Why is that blowing if it's coming up from here? But although it's coming up from here, maybe it does go through some other pins as well. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it goes through other chips at the, I don't know. Not sure. Right, I suppose I better pop this one off and then I can compare this chip to, for example, this chip here. But no matter what, we definitely won't be getting 3 working ones now, will we? We definitely won't even be getting 2 working ones. Let's pop this chip off again. Oh, I'm disappointed with that. Really am. So I have to take this chip off to see if I can prove the fault, to see if there's something on this chip causing it. Let's measure the chip. Whoops, bent the pin there. No, doesn't seem to be short in there. Right, that's weird. Now the pad itself is shorting, so we're back to this chip again, aren't we? Because this chip here that I've just replaced is not shorting. Right, I'm actually pleased about that. But look, we're now shorting between here and the grounds. So let's see if we can trace it from here. It goes to here. Wow, what on earth is going on? I'm really confused now. So now we've got rid of that, but there's still a short on the VDD which only goes as far as here. So how can that be shorting? So that's now obviously shorting through this chip here. But when we tested this chip, do you know what? I didn't test the chip, did I, when it was off? I didn't actually test it for a short. It was just that the board itself was shorting because this was the original chip on it, and 100% this chip is shorted. So I think that this has had some sort of surge and it's knocked out all 3 chips. Still don't know about this one here. Still don't know about this one. So let's take this chip off again. Let's check the board again. Right, so that's okay. And that's not short in there. So, I mean, surely that must be the chip, unless it goes through other paths in the chip that goes elsewhere. Let's have a look here now. So we've taken this off, so we don't want a short between here and pin number 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, that's normal. 9, 10. Well, that's not normal, yeah, so it's shorting, isn't it? So that pin's shorting between there and here. So that says to me that that chip is faulty. So it looks like every single chip on this board has become faulty, which is really, really weird. So I think what I should do is, let's put that power regulator or whatever it is, that voltage regulator thing, back up here. And I think let's take the chip off this board here and pop it onto here. I suppose I'm going to have to take the battery off. I mean, I don't know whether it should or shouldn't have a battery. But that looks to be the same. Got a crystal here, capacitor, capacitor, resistor, capacitor, resistor. So all the rest does look to be the same. I mean, I haven't gone across every single trace to see. But remember, you know, if I can get something working, it's better than nothing. So I think that's what we'll do. Right, so just to recap. Okay, so just to be clear, I'm going to remove this chip from this gold Pokemon and move it onto here, and I'm also going to put this onto here as well, and then hopefully maybe the gold Pokemon may work after that. Right, so now I've swapped over the Pokemon Gold chip here. So essentially all I've done is taken off the silver Pokemon Silver chip and put on the gold chip, because this was originally on the gold and that was originally on the gold. So now but the other components here and stuff are the ones from the silver chip. If you have a listen, it's not short in between here and here. There's no short between here and here. And there's no short between here and here. So hopefully now when I put it in, maybe this might work. Right, I've changed location because my son is on Fortnite and he's chatting to his friends. So I promise I haven't plugged this in. Right, let's see now. So remember, this is I was mixing and matching between the gold and the silver one. So now this is the silver. This is the gold one in here. Excellent, we've got a thing there. But look, no, that's still scrambled there. Wow. So, could that chip itself be faulty? The gold chip? So let's recap now. On the silver, I'm not having much luck here. On the silver one, 100% all three chips are faulty. So that's the ROM. I think it was called the SRAM or something. I'm going to show you something, a website at the moment that has them all listed. And that top one. But on this one here, I've put that ROM onto the other board, and everything now is testing okay on that board. So that says to me that it's going to be the ROM itself which is faulty. What I could do is maybe I could see if I can get the blue one working, and then nothing's coming up there. Maybe I can see if I can get the blue one working, and then maybe I can swap the ROM. As I say, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Look, it says Nintendo that time. No, there's nothing happening. Yeah, it says Nintendo clearer now. God, I wouldn't be unlucky, would I, and have all the chips gone? No, there's definitely nothing happening there. Right, so this is the problem. Because I haven't got a working one to test with, I don't know whether just changing the ROM from one game to another will solve problems or not. Or is there other chips that somehow kind of linked to that ROM? So for example, can you not just swap a Pokemon Gold ROM onto a board, a Pokemon Silver board? I really don't know. But whatever it is, that's definitely not working. So right now, definitely nothing I can do with the silver one, because we've got three chips that are faulty and testing faulty when they're off the board. And this gold one at this moment in time looks like the chip itself is at fault, possibly. Maybe I can move on to the gold one, or I might just have a little test around the chip, because I know on that Bonkers game on the Mega Drive, one of the pins was testing different than the others, and I put a 1K resistor between them and it started to work. So let's have a mess around with that for a bit. Right, so this is the website I'm talking about, and it is insidegadgets.com, and then you see that's the web address there. Now if you have a look here, this looks like my one here. So we've got the ROM, the SRAM, MBC, and then it says MM1134, and it looks like these are other ones. So this might be one on the blue Game Boy one, I'm not too sure, the Pokemon one. We've got the ROM, we've got MBC, so this hasn't got an SRAM, and then it's MM1134, so that's exactly the same. even though the numbers are different, so it looks like they are interchangeable, and obviously the batteries as well. Now let me show you what each of these things mean. Right, and this is the website here again inside gadgets, and that's the rest of it there. Yeah, and if you have a look here, it's got the write-up. So it says the ROM is where the game data is stored, the SRAM is where the save game high scores are kept. Some cartridges, like one on the left, so this one here, doesn't have this chip because they don't share any data, or it's built into the MBC. So remember, this one's got an MBC instead of an SRAM. MBC is the memory bank controller. It allows us switch ROM banks to read the game's data from the ROM. And the MM1134, which is that small thing that I thought was some sort of voltage regulator, is to control when SRAM should be run from battery or not. And the rest is a 3-volt coin cell. How handy is that website there? So I'm going to have a look at this chip closely now to see if I can see anything wrong on this gold Pokemon. Okay, so 100% the wires at the back here that go through to the chip are definitely all coming up. So they're either coming up on the chip or on the pads down here. So I'm 100% sure that this is soldered properly on. I've also gone over it again with the soldering iron, and I've looked very closely, and they're all connected. So now what I'm going to do is the diode test between the ground and the other ones to see if they're coming up any bit different. Okay, so I've gone across it doing a diode test. Now, bearing in mind I don't really know what I'm talking about, but this is how I fixed a bonkers one with the help of a viewer called Rodrigo Lamas, and basically he told me to put a 1K resistor between the ground and one of the pins that's not measuring the same as the others, and that brought it to life. So now I've gone through this is 44 pins. I need to have a look online to see the pin out so I can know what's going on, but basically every single pin is 0.66-ish. It might be 0.65 or 0. Well, it's all 0.65 or 0.66. Obviously, some of them are irrelevant because they just go off to nowhere. So if you have a look here, you can see that there's kind of punched bits out of the board. So there's a hole here. So with this one, that top pin there and that top pin are not going to do anything because they go to here and it's just a hole out the board. Again, look at the ones going off to this big hole. So they're not going to measure anything. And a few of them are grounds, like this one, and this one. But this pin here just above the ground, and also this pin going off to this one here, which is I think 7 down, they're both testing different than everything else. So if you have a look, if I do the red one to grounds, which is basically this hole here, yeah, because if you look here and the ground pin here, you can see that it's a short. So now if I go the one above that, that's only reading 0.12. And if I go to this wire over here, which connects to the 7th pin, that's reading 0.1. But everything else is basically reading, if you have a look, 0.6, let's go to here, 0.64, 0.66. So if there was only one, I'd be a lot more hopeful. The very fact that there's two makes me think that no, it's probably supposed to do that. But I'm going to see if I can get a pin out for a 44-pin ROM from the Nintendo Game Boy, and then I'm going to see what's on the pin 7 down and the pin 11 up. I don't know how this is numbered. This is number 1 up here because that's where the arrow is on the board, but I need to work out, you know, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 that way, or whether it goes down here and then up this way or this way. So let me go online and see if I can find out anything about this ROM here. Okay, I've been looking up online and I haven't really got anywhere. When I was looking up the Mega Drive cartridge ages ago, there seems to be loads of information, but on this one, there's very little information, and also I don't really fully understand mask ROMs. But basically, the one on this side here, 7 down, is A12, and the one above the ground, so the ground is VSS, and the one above the ground is labelled as CE. I don't know what CE means. But the thing is, I'm not confident about putting resistors in because I don't know what, I don't know what CE is. I was thinking that maybe if I was to take a guess, I would probably put the resistor on A12 because A12 is measuring different than the other A's. But I'm thinking the only thing that I haven't done, and I really don't think it will make a difference, but the only thing I haven't done is basically move that chip across, because now, remember, this was the board, this is the Pokemon Gold board here, and I've moved that chip, I've moved that chip, and I've moved that chip, so I might as well move that. The other thing is that this didn't have a battery in, but I've had a look online and I've looked at inside pictures of the Pokemon Gold, and it does have the battery in, so obviously somebody's taken a battery out of this one because it was a faulty cart to put into another Game Boy cartridge. So I really don't think the battery is going to be anything to do with it, but I think, just sort of for my peace of mind, before I start messing with resistors and possibly blowing this completely, I think I'm going to take the chip off here and put it onto here, and then everything apart from the battery is the same. Then what I can do is maybe take the battery off, see if that makes any difference, and lastly take the crystal off, and then basically there's nothing more I can do on this, and then I'm going to start moving on to the blue one here. Pretty sure this is going to be absolutely pointless, but just in case for some reason that this isn't recognising the data that's stored in here or something like that, do you know what, I really don't know. I really don't know, but I think it's worth a try. Right, so that's come out nice. I'm not going to bother cleaning it because I've got a feeling I'm going to be taking this crystal off near enough straight away. Nope. It's not coming up with a Game Boy thing now either. Do you know what? Let me let it cool down. It might be still too warm. No, still not doing anything. The weird thing is now it doesn't always come up with the Game Boy logo. See that? Right, let's change the crystal over. Might as well go whole hog. So that's the crystal changed over. Let's try it again. It just says Nintendo now without the Game Boy bit. Strange. I wonder if all the heat, have I damaged it? Yeah. Oh, there we go. It's come with a Game Boy that time. But look, only half. Right, something's definitely not right. Nope. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tap the soldering iron across all the joints here just to make sure that they are okay. Right, so I've just reflowed that now. It's cooled down. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's coming up with Game Boy this time. But then it hangs there. I can just see Game Boy still up here ever so slightly. Well, I really don't know what's wrong. Let's have a look at this cart. I don't think this is a 42 pin one or a 44 pin. No, it's not. So really there's nothing really much more I can do. Well, I suppose I can unsolder the battery, and that's just the way I found it. But apart from that, remember I was going to try to repair these. But I've essentially done that. I swapped over absolutely everything. The chips, the crystal. There's no point in swapping over the resistors and the capacitors. Well, I mean, it's highly unlikely, isn't it? Highly unlikely. But as soon as I said that now, I'm thinking maybe I should. I don't know. Let me take off this battery. Right, so apart from the capacitors and the resistors, this is going to be the same as this damaged contact board here. Did make the noise that time. No, it's not happy, is it? Right, I'm thinking, should I change over those capacitors just purely for the purpose of the video? And then that kind of eliminates everything. I know this is pointless, but it won't take long. Yeah, I think I will do. Okay, that went really nice and smoothly. So what I'm going to do is let it cool, pop it back in, see if it makes a difference. Then I'm going to get the battery, put it back in, see if it makes a difference, which it shouldn't do because it should still work even if the battery's flat. And then, if that doesn't work, I have no other option, but I might as well put a 1K resistor between. First of all, I'm going to do A12 and see if that makes a difference. If not, then I'm going to do CE to ground, see if that makes a difference, because I've got nothing else I can do. I can't try this in this board here, and I've got no other boards to swap it out with. At this moment in time, I'm pretty certain that there's a problem with this main ROM here, but I'm not, you know, I don't really know, do I? That's the thing, I don't really know. This is just a process of elimination, and I'm doing absolutely everything I can. So now these two boards here are exactly the same as each other, and I've swapped every single component over from this one to this one. So if the only problem with this was the fact that it had bad contacts, then it should now work. Still not doing anything. So I might as well pop the battery back in. Now, because we are dealing with a different fault than the shorted one, I am just going to double check to make sure there's continuity between each of these and the wires, and then I'm going to go on to the other side and make sure there is. There's definitely continuity there, so if it still doesn't work there now, I'm pretty much certain it's going to be the mask ROM. Nope, what a shame. Right, so let's just recap. So with the silver one here, the silver Pokemon, 100% we have 3 faulty chips. So just to show you when it's out of the board, we have this one here, and this is shorting between the ground and this one here. So if we go here and 10 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can hear there that we've got a short. So 100% that chip is faulty. When it comes to this one here, we've got a short between the ground and this top pin here. Again, that shouldn't happen, so that's faulty. And with this one here, we've got a short between the ground and the voltage in pin there. So that's faulty as well. I'm thinking that, but I haven't actually checked them. So 100% we can't get the silver Pokemon working. That was really unlucky. With the gold one, I thought it was just going to be a case of faulty contacts here. So rather than trying to fix that, we had a spare board because of the silver Pokemon one. The board itself was okay, it just had faulty chips. So I've swapped every single resistor, capacitor, chip, battery from the gold one onto the silver board, and the boards are, to my knowledge, exactly the same, even down to the number up here, DMG-KG-DU-10. So it all looks to be exactly the same, and it still doesn't work. So unfortunately, I think that on this one, we've got a problem with that chip there. So now, because I've got nothing to lose, I'm going to put a 1K resistor between the pins that I tested as faulty, which probably isn't faulty, which is A12, the second pin, the 7th pin down, over to ground. Let's see if that makes a difference. If that doesn't, then I'm going to put a resistor between the CE and ground, just out of curiosity to see if it will do anything. Right, okay, so you can see that I put a 1K resistor across here. Now what I've done is, rather than going from pin to pin, I've gone via to via, because this whole thing's a ground here, and remember pin 7 goes off to this via here. It's not pin 7, but pin 7 down. Now you might be wondering why a 1K resistor. This is purely just what I did on the Sega Mega Drive game. I haven't got a clue. Maybe it should be I don't know, it could be a completely different one. I'm just purely clutching at straws now. I'm certain it's not going to make a difference, but I just want to do it to satisfy my curiosity. And if it breaks it completely, I've lost nothing. No, still not booting up. Has it made any difference? Now I think I'm going to remove that one and then put it between the CE and the VSS. And then if that doesn't work, then I'm going to then put both of them in and see if that makes any difference. Okay, you can see now I've gone from the ground to just a pin above. Right, okay, let's put the next resistor in now, and then we'll call it a day on that. Okay, so I've got continuity between the pin and there, and I've got continuity between ground and here. No, nothing, so it's time to give up on that. What I am going to do is just leave it on for about 30 seconds or so to a minute, just to see if it does anything. Right, that made no difference whatsoever. So unfortunately that was a big waste of time. I was sure I was going to get one of them two working, if not both of them. So I'm going to unsolder these resistors because I might as well use them for something else. And we're going to start working on this blue one now. See if we can have any more luck with the blue. Right, now with this one, it does say on the little note, it says works fine but French. So French we definitely can't do anything about, but it's definitely not working now. And you see it's not doing anything. I mean, I do wish I had just a normal Game Boy game just to make sure it does work in this Game Boy Color, but they're definitely supposed to be compatible. And you know, just to show, I know this is a Game Boy Color game, but I've just double checked online as well, and 100% there you go, the Game Boy games do work in Game Boy Color, and interestingly you can actually make them have a certain colour by doing a different combination of the D-pad and A and B buttons. But you can see there my Game Boy Color definitely is working. So now let's see if we have any more luck with this one here. So with this, you can see there's kind of flux all over it. So what I'm going to do is this really deep flux there, just in case this one is just dirty. I am going to give this one a good clean. Okay, that's lovely and clean now, so let's just see if that's made any difference. Yeah, look, see that's working. Unfortunately, what a boring video, because that just needed a clean. Yeah, there you go. Well, do you know what? I don't know if it was a boring video. For me, I really enjoyed the fault finding at the beginning. You know, chasing that. I loved trying to chase that ground fault around the place. That was, for me, that was really enjoyable. I think I was very unlucky to have three ground faults on 3 different chips. But that's the way it goes with my video. You know, these are real life. Other people would have filmed that and they probably wouldn't have released it because they think, well, I haven't shown it working. But that was real. You know, I haven't faked that. All 3 of those were faulty, and they're still testing faulty now when they're out of the board. If you think you might know what's happened to them, please put it down. The only thing I can think is that somebody's put a higher voltage adapter into here, maybe like shoved 12 volts in or something, rather than, or 9 volts rather than 3 volts, and maybe it's travelled straight through and gone through the thing. Maybe as well they might have fried their Game Boy when they did that, as well as frying the game. There you go. See, this is in French. Let me just see if there is a way to change that. No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as far as I know, that the language is on the chip itself, and not on the settings of the game. So yeah, what a shame. I'm really gutted about that one. I really thought I would be able to get this one working, and the annoying thing is I haven't actually proved what the fault is. So I've kind of got closure on this silver one here, because I've definitely proved that the 3 chips are faulty. But with this one, this is not showing any faults. It's just not working, which makes me think it is going to be that mask ROM. So yeah, that is it for this video. Apologies I couldn't get them to work, and apologies that has turned out to be quite a long one again, because I did spend an awful long time messing around with these chips. Now, in hindsight, it was pointless changing all the capacitors and resistors over. It's just you kind of get, not desperate, but you want to prove the fault that bad. You don't want to leave anything, you know, no stone unturned. So if I had left those resistors and capacitors, I would now later on be thinking, oh, could it have been that? Could it have been that? And then I'd probably, you know, think about revisiting it. So I am glad I did it, just purely for peace of mind. So yeah, that is it. Obviously, if you've got information yourself, if you think you might know what's wrong with this gold one here, then obviously this one I'm happy that I've proved the fault. I won't be able to fix that. But if you think you might know what's wrong with this one, then let me know, just in case. It might not necessarily be the mask ROM, if it could be something else. But as far as I can see, there's continuity all around the board, and I can't swap the other components over because these components here are different components. I mean, what have we got in here? I suppose I could. That looks similar and that looks similar, but I don't believe that they're faulty, or that one there. I mean, what I could do is, I'm just thinking out aloud, what I could do is swap these ones over, because they do look to be the same one as these. I mean, I can't put my mask ROM in here because it's a different size, but the thing is, that's labelled up differently. Right, okay, curiosity has got the better of me, and in this instance it's good that it did, because I now have 2 of them working. So I didn't film it because I'd actually said my goodbyes on that video. I finished up with cleaning this one and getting that one working, and I thought that this one was faulty because of the grounded chips, and I thought this one had a faulty mask ROM. Now, I couldn't put the mask ROM from here onto here because they're different sizes. This one is like a 44 pin one, and this one is a, let me quickly count them, and this is a 32 pin one, so I can't just swap them over. But I thought to myself, I wonder if it's possible that one of these other ones is faulty. So what I did is I took these 3 chips off the blue Pokemon and I put them onto the gold one, and guess what? The gold one started to work, and I thought, fantastic. So then I put the 3 faulty chips onto this one, and the blue one didn't work. So then I had to do a process of elimination, swapping them around bit by bit, and guess what? It turns out the thing that was stopping the gold one from working is this chip here, the square chip. Yeah, so basically this one here. So now what have I done? I've managed to get 2 working. So basically this one here just needed a clean. That's fine, that was working just with a clean. So what happened here, remember I swapped all the chips over because originally the gold chips were all on here, but I didn't swap over, I don't think I swapped over this one here. So I swapped over the Mask ROM, this one here, and that small one up here. I didn't swap over this one. So what I did is I took the one off this board and put it onto here, and now this one is working. So right now we have 4 faulty chips. 3 of them were originally from the silver one, and 1 of them, this square one here, was from the gold one. Now check this out. Put that lid on and that lid on, and you will now see every single time that this one is now working. Yep, there we go. Actually, that makes it worse to see. Okay, can you see the fish swimming around the place and stuff? Yeah. So basically it's working. There. And now if I turn that one off and put this one in, this one is also working. Actually I had the volume turned down, I'll put the other one on and put the volume up in a minute. So I'm so glad I didn't just give up on that. See, I was convinced it was that Mask ROM, but obviously it wasn't. Yeah. So it was fine with the Mask ROM from the silver one because it was physically testing faulty. But with this one it wasn't. But luckily by doing the resistors I didn't actually put a fault on it. Remember I put the resistors on it and stuff? There you go. That's it. Not a bad result really, not a bad result. Out of all of them, the one I enjoyed doing most was this silver one here because I enjoyed physically doing the ground full. I know it was on the other board, but remember chasing the ground around the place, I really enjoyed that one. With the gold Pokemon one, it was just a case of swapping chips over really, just hit and miss, swapping them over until you get it that work, until you make it work. I prefer it when you can actually see a fault, you can chase the fault around the board. To me it's more interesting. I think it probably reminds me of my telecom days, and you've got a physical fault that you have to find, so you keep breaking it down until you find that fault. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed doing this one, and I would definitely like to do more cartridges in the future, whether that be Mega Drive, Master System, Nintendo Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, whatever. I'm happy to do all of them because I think they're definitely interesting to do, and hopefully they make interesting videos as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe for more Trying to Fix videos. Thanks again to Mike for sending them over to me, because I probably wouldn't have been messing around with Game Boy ones unless he had sent them to me. I never really thought to look at them before. So yeah, really enjoyed it. So thanks Mike for that. And that is it. Enjoy yourselves. Take care. Bye now.